everyone, today we got to play Bitoku. So this game is a Japanese themed game with a bunch of little spirits that are coming across the board. But before we get started, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are amazing and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, Randy, tell us more about this game. Now, I understand that it was released last year.
Yeah, 2021 release. It's got a Board Game Geek rating of 8.0. Board Game Geek rank currently of 1433. It is a 1 to 4 player game, average length of 120 minutes, age 12 and up according to Board Game Geek. Box says 14 up. I'm going to go with the 14
Yeah,
up.
I agree. Now, I also understand that it's sold out a lot of places now already.
Currently, yes, but let me finish. Designed by German P. Milan, art by Edu Valls, and published by Devir. It is got an MSRP of $69.99. Card House has it listed at $64.99. They're sold out. It is on Amazon right now for the low price of $145.33. I'd wait because I'm sure it'll come back in stock.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know about this game. George, who runs Card House, or the front end for Card House, told me about it when I was down there and talked me into this game. And you know, I looked at the pieces.
That's why it doesn't really take much to twist his arm and just be like, "Hey, that game's cool." Okay.
He told me about it. Told me it was selling well, and showed me a copy and I saw the pieces in it, and I was like, "Okay, you sold me." Okay,
so let's talk about the quality of pieces then while we're here. So we have some really cool screen printing. So these are minions. That's not what they're called.
Pilgrims in the game. Pilgrims.
But they look like little minions.
They do. They look like
so
minions
cute.
In Jedi outfits.
Yeah, so here's the thing. So sometimes they're weak and sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
Which I really like.
And I like that they have their eyes open and closed. Or eye open and closed.
And they're screen printed, so that's actually kind of nice. And you've got screen printed sake and screen printed wood, and you have some jade.
You have stone.
Yeah, so you have stone. You have a lot of different resources.
You have buildings.
You have buildings that are. Now I tell you what, the
round token and the phase tokens
is
are both
absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it looks like the box for Equinox, the creature from that. It's obviously it's some kind of Asian lore. That's a common fantasy creature.
Now,
I'm not familiar with it.
Now, as far as cards, not linen finish, but good thickness. So I think I'm okay with that. And then, yeah, so there's a lot of some other cardboard chits and cardboard tiles. Now, I will say what was really interesting is the way the board game was laid out.
The main board, yeah.
Yeah, the main board.
So it's one side is 1 to 2 players, the other side is 3 to 4 players, but instead of having overlays if you're playing with 3 or 4, they have inserts, and it's a dual layered board where you actually put them into the board. And I'm not even sure why they did it 2-sided, because you could have just had the inlay be the first side if you're going to do an inlaid board. So you could have had player 3 be without the inlay, or player 4 being with the inlay. But they made it so that everything was on the inlay and you flipped it to either side.
Well, I think that's actually really interesting and cool. And I like how they did that, because how many times do you get overlays and they just slide everywhere and it's just a disaster?
Yeah.
So in that aspect, I really appreciate it. I'm kind of bummed that they didn't put the scoring inlay.
And that's the other thing is, if you're going to do it, you should do it across the board. But they didn't. They have the little score markers.
So that part's a little like, oh no, you were already doing it,
the
so you might as well.
And then the gates are also not inlaid.
Yeah, so some things I think are a little bit funny in that aspect of like, well, you were already doing an inlay board. It wouldn't have been that much more to completely do an inlay board. All right, but that was really cool. Overall, I think it has a lot of interesting things to it. I think they did some really well. I love the dice even.
Yeah, the dice are really pretty. They're see-through. The player boards are really kind of cool. They got the inlay for the flags for the different player colors. So you can, the boards are all the same, but you can just insert your banner into it, which is really cool.
Yeah, so I mean, overall though, what would you give it a score-wise for quality of components?
Given this is a retail game, I mean, yes, it's a pricier retail game, $69.99 MSRP. I'm probably going to give this a 9. I think they've really gone above and beyond with the screen printing. They're beautiful. The dice are pretty. The board is. Well, we'll get to theme in a minute, but the board is huge, but it's functional, and you get a ton of bits. I mean, just a ton of pieces in this game. And I like the way the pieces fit together. The cards, while they're not linen finished like I would like, they are a good thickness.
Yeah, so I mean, overall, I think I agree with you. I would go a little bit lower just because if you look at piece by piece, I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of wowness, but there's nothing like super wow except for maybe that piece over there. So I'm going to go 8.5. It's not that much lower.
Yeah.
But overall, it did present very, very well, and they did really good on this. All right, so now let's talk about theme. So all I know is that the art is freaking amazing, guys. This board is so beautiful, and there's a lot of details, but it's not very. They made sure that things stood out, so you're not like trying to figure out everything.
I'm not sure. I agree. I think it's very busy. It is very, very busy.
No. It's not as busy as the eggshell game.
You're talking about Praga? Yeah.
Yes.
No. Praga was a complete mess on the board, but it's still a fun game.
Yeah, no. I know. I'm not saying that. Yeah. I'm just saying as far as busyness goes, I think this is less busy and it's a lot more visible because they did the right thing in outlining and making sure that things did pop up.
I think it could have been a little clearer, and there's a few things that don't exactly make sense where they place them, like there's 5 sections you can place your dice at, and one of them, and the whole idea is that you can promote them across the river, but one of those sections is across the river. And it says, so it makes no sense why you would put that one above the river. I would have put them all on this side and then just not had a place to escalate them because it's for determining turn order, and the turn order dice cannot be moved across the river.
Well, it still looks pretty.
It does. It's just not functional. It's a problem. There's a balance when you're doing theme of beauty and function, and this one leans way towards the beauty side, less on the functionality side.
I think that's the only real issue, though. Everything else, I think, was fine.
Yeah. I mean, the player boards work fine. They're not inlaid though. But they don't really need to be. Everything works fine apart from it's just very, very busy. There's just a lot to this game. But the art is so amazing on it. And
so, what would you give it a score-wise then?
I'm probably going to give it an 8 just because of the boards, to me, is so cluttered and so hard to understand exactly what's going on. It was very intimidating getting this out and setting it up and trying to learn the game because of the board.
Yeah, I mean, I can get that. There is a lot going on, but this is more on the definitely medium to heavy. I mean, it's not a light game.
Yeah, from the art style, though, you would not get that. If you just looked at the art and saw the cute animals, the critters, and everything.
You would think you'd be getting in for Everdale, but in reality, no.
No, this is a brain burner as far as how to learn it. Once you get it, it's not that bad.
But let me tell you something. I'm totally okay with this theme and actually having a brain burner. Or not a brain burner, but it is on the heavier side. And I like it. I like the theme. I love the art. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I loved looking at the different cards and the different, everything about it was visually pleasing for me. So I'm going to give this one a 9 just because it is so beautiful. Like all the pieces, just you look at it and you're just like, this is a gorgeous game.
It definitely sucks you in. You're in this world. You know, when you're playing it, the little critters, they all fit. Even though I have no idea what half of them were, they fit this world.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is I think a lot about some of the video games I do play that have a lot of these concepts in there, and that I think that's where it is very familiar to me, and it's so wonderful to see it on a more heavier style board game. So yay! Super excited for me. So definitely a 9 for me. For me, you gave it an 8. So now let's talk about Rulebook.
So the Rulebook.
There's that chuckle there. I'm a little concerned about that chuckle. What does that chuckle mean?
So the chuckle means when you get the book out, it is 32 pages. It's beautiful. The cover is amazing.
Oh, yes.
And
look. Gorgeous prize.
Yeah, and there's that Equinox creature that I was
Whoever
talking
was
about.
the
I have
artist,
no idea what that is, but I'm sure
like,
it's a common.
I gotta admit, I want to like tip the artist, like see if they have any artwork I can
The
buy.
artist was Edu Valls.
Well, good job. I love it.
Got the components, the setup. The setup was very confusing because you've got letters basically all over. It shows a picture of this main board, and it has letters just basically completely littering that board, telling you where everything goes. But you look at a letter, and then you find it, and it's like, oh, there's one, and there's one over here, and there's one over there, and it's like, okay, I got to figure out where everything goes based on this board. Not to mention, everything is written in whatever language it is, the names of the creatures and everything are. There's nothing that refers to it as by the a more common name or a card or whatever. It just specifically will say Bitoku, or it'll say Kodama or whatever, and I have to go back and look, okay, what is that, and go back to the main page and say, okay, was that a tile, was it a card, was it a wood piece?
Well, maybe had troubles, but to be fair, I mean, I would have had trouble too, so yeah. I mean, I
knew what pagoda was. I got that one.
Oh, look at that one. Yay.
But yeah.
What game taught you that?
Yeah, lots of them. But yeah, I mean, it's just that there was a lot of weird names that I'm not weird, but ones I'm not familiar with, because I'm not really into this kind of theme typically.
I am. I'm happy.
Yeah. So it was things I was not really understanding, making the game, the fact that this is a very complex game to learn, even more complex. And then when you get into it, it talks about, actually, they tell you this game is heavy. It's a very complex game. They don't recommend trying to play it from the rule book, but that's exactly how I learn. Not to mention, that's what we're rating. So it refers you to videos on the web to try to learn the game. I don't like learning from videos. I would much rather learn from the book. Plus, that's how I evaluate the book. So I did it from the book, and there's just a ton of rules. We all the way got to the very end and realized we played one wrong.
Well, I thought it was weird, but you were like, no, this is it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. So it's broken into 4 seasons, which we'll get into later, but a lot of that is just standard functions. So instead of referring things as like the cleanup phase or whatever, they refer to it as by the seasons. So spring, summer, fall, and winter. And they make it sound like those seasons really are big 4 sections of the game that are really important. But as you get into it, it's like, oh no, summer's really the only gameplay section. The others are all like cleanup or scoring or what have you.
Pre-op and post-op.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, it could have been easier if they didn't try to translate it and make it thematic. But, it blends in with the theme of the game. Yeah. So I think it overemphasized. The other thing is it has sidebars. But the sidebars didn't really have anything to do with the page they were on. So as you're reading the page and you think, okay, these sidebars are going to give you like shorthand of what's on the page. No, they're just additional information about the game that has nothing to do with the page you're on.
Well, they're just trying to keep you, on your toes.
Yeah, so it's a little bit difficult because when you get to the parts that reference the things that are in the sidebars, unless you read those and you read them out of context because you're reading the flow of the game and they break the flow. So I think it could have been set up differently and made it a lot easier to learn. That said, it is a very pretty rule book, and it is sectioned nicely. They got tabs that are along the side to tell you which areas, what you're referring to.
With a 30-page rule book, they better.
Yeah, they got color coding on some of it as far as the different sections. And then they have the solo play at the end. They have basically a whole different scenario for solo. It's a mixed bag. I mean, there's some good in it, but it's just heavy. Now, I will say, kudos to them. They did these nice player sheets that give you all the information about all the iconography on it. They give you the final scoring on the back. They give you the turn order on it. This is most everything you need, except for all the details of all of the different actions are not on here. So you really can just reference this, and it has page numbers if you need to reference the details, which is really nice. This I would give probably a 9 or a 10 to. The rule book, I'm going to go ahead and give a 7 to.
Okay, let's
so we'll average that and give it would be a 8.5.
Okay, cool.
Because this makes up for a lot of it. Because this is really good. And they made them for each player. If they just gave you one of these, that wouldn't be so good. But the fact that they did them for each player, because they knew this was a heavy game.
What's sad? I didn't even look at it.
I used it a lot.
I know you did, and I just asked you, and you tell me. So, like, don't you have a book?
I kept saying, it's in your book.
Yeah, well, I wasn't really listening to you. All right, so... anyway, so now let's move on to actual gameplay. So this game's pretty heavy, so I don't know if we really want to fully explain it, but we'll give you kind of a general idea of what this game looks like. So essentially, there are spring phase, which has to
basically
do with setup.
you have a hand of cards that start with 5 cards. And you draw 4 of them. So basically, you're only leaving 1 card behind. Mm-hmm. And then from the 4, you keep 3, because you're going to take 3 card actions during the round. And you discard 1. You have 1 in the draw pile, 1 in the discard pile, 3 in your hand. And then those cards on your spaces on your board, you're going to play 1 each round.
Not necessarily.
But not necessarily in that order.
Okay, so there's a couple things you can do. So you have 3 spaces on your board. When you play a card, you release a die. So you'll have dice in the bottom here. The very beginning of the game, you get a 1, 2, or 3, but over the course of time, you can alter them through different means. Well, actually, only one mean, those tokens. But all right, but you get them through different means. All right, so basically, once you play a card, okay, like this one would be unlocked. I played this card, I did this action. But then I'd also get to move it to the unlock. So then that allows me to do a couple of things. So I can either play another card my next turn, or I can choose to use my dice on the board. Now, once you get the dice on the board on this side of the river, another action you could take is moving your dice across the river to gain another action. So in the course, so obviously the first thing you do is play a card, unless you have special abilities that
prematurely unlock the die.
That premature unlock the die. So, because you may want to get on the board faster, because I think there is a 1 income that allows you to unlock the board automatically. This one actually, this one lets you automatically unlock a die. So you can do that and go on the board. Now, the cards, they range from all the actions pretty much. They allow you to gather resources, build buildings, gain power stones. Allow you to get dragonflies or whatever these things.
These are spirits.
Spirits, and spirits and dragonflies go together. I don't know why they go together, but they do. I'm sure there's a reason behind it. And then there's also your pilgrim can go on a journey up here, as well as over here on across your board. There is a ton of things to do, all in the name of victory points, right? So you're just trying to get those victory points, but there's a lot going on because you have to manage your resources to be able to do the different actions now. And then you end up doing it until you can do no more, right? You've played 3 cards, you've played 3 dice on the main board, you can choose whether to take those across the river or not. If you go in the middle section, you can't cross the river, and that allows you to change player order. So we did that a couple times in the game. So just kind of understand that there might, typically you might get like 9 actions at most.
9 is the maximum, but you might take less if you took a player turn change, or if you opted, because whenever you go across the river with your action, you're to basically make a sacrifice to the gods. You decrease your die, and if you had a 6, you decrease it down to 3.
But everything else is just one step.
Everything else just goes down 1. So if you have a 6, you may not want to cross the river with that, because you may want to preserve that 6, because you get super powerful actions based upon having a 6 compared to the other lower numbers.
Right. It's almost like a lot of times I just wanted a 5 so I could just go over, and still, so there's some management there. There is some management that you have to figure out, okay, is it worth it? And at that last game, I had a choice to go over the river, and I literally was calculating, okay, how many points will I lose versus how many I'm going to gain due to this, this, and this, and this, and so I ended up deciding it wasn't worth me going across the river. It wasn't enough victory points, and so I just stayed on that side of the river, because at that point, I didn't care what the dice value was, except for some victory point things that I had specifically, so I decided to keep it. No, but there is a lot going on in this game. But I really, really enjoyed it because in the end, it all made sense, right? You're building buildings, right? You're trying to catch spirits, and that one I didn't get.
Yeah, that doesn't make so much sense.
I'm sure it does if there was some reference, but I don't get it. But the fact that you get power stones and you unlock you unlock the pilgrims on your board, and so they can go free to explore the world.
And there's 3 types of crystals. Ones that give you beginning of round income. There's ones that give you card income.
And then there's one that lets you do an action, you get an income.
Yeah.
So those were all really cool things going on. Also, you can get more cards. So if you cross the river, you have an opportunity to get more cards that you could play. Oh, and we forgot that. So at the end, when you get done playing all your stuff, I guess fall, you can choose to, one of the cards that you play, you can choose to permanently discard. I don't want to say destroy because you can still use the icons on them.
Well, it still counts for scoring at the end game, but you remove it from the game permanently, and at the bottom, there's victory points you get.
Or some type of formula
for it's victory points
points
one way or the other. It's conditional or non-conditional victory points. So that was really cool because it gives you a chance to build your deck the way you want it to be. It's kind of hard to shuffle 5 cards and draw 4.
Did anyone get more than 5 cards? Because let me tell you something. I literally would pick one up and I would destroy one every round. But
I ended up picking up 2 one time, so I ended up with 6, I think. But you're not going to have you're not going to have a big deck during the course of this game.
And here's the thing, though, right? So you have to play them to be able to destroy them. So I caught myself more than once playing a lesser card so I could destroy it, right? I had to make sure something in my tableau I could destroy.
Yeah, because, if not, you're giving up a potential score of 3 to 6 victory points.
Well, and then you end up with crap in your hand anyway, so what's the point? So, in that aspect, that was really good. Also, there is cards that allow you end-of-game victory points, end-of-game conditions. However, you do get negative penalties if you don't complete them, and some of them ain't easy. Yeah. You want to get those at the beginning and not at the end, because we did find out that you could choose to take them or not, because I had an opportunity to take them, I took them, I couldn't complete them, and I was like, take them back, because the one thing I didn't have extra of, it was like, oh, here it is, and I'm like, that's not helpful to me.
And then whenever you play the crystals, you unlock your pilgrims, and the pilgrims can be sent to do 2 different things, which I thought was really cool. You have a little rock track on your player board, and you can use them as sign there, and the conditions on the rock, based upon which ones they're touching, you get victory points if you meet the conditions.
1 times whatever, yeah.
Yeah, but the number of these guys that are adjacent times whatever.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Then there's a pilgrimage track at the top of the board that you can.
But then you also have a pilgrim thing here too.
Yeah. That's but you don't send your pilgrims there. You have your little master dude that walks down.
Yeah. Oh, and then there's a bit of set collection, right? Yep. So you got to get each different things.
They crammed a ton into this game.
They did, and we can't go over it because we will be here.
Yeah, and just in-game scoring, there's how many? Say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 phases of scoring the game because there's so many ways you can get points. Not to mention all the ways during the game.
You loved it.
I love point salad.
You do love it. Listen, I built buildings, cleared off my board. Randy, I don't know what you did.
I don't know what I did either. I built a lot of the dragonfly spirit combinations. Not sure what those are.
But they gave you a lot of benefits.
I got a lot up on the pilgrim track. I got a ton of points from along the way from the cards walking down my pilgrim or my little path.
Dad focused on end of game contracts. Yeah. I mean, he just loaded up on those and kicked, he did very, very well on those. So there was a lot of stuff going on. All of it seemed pretty equal, though. There wasn't one thing that outpaced another.
You and I are neck and neck, basically. We're about 6 points apart.
And we went 2 completely different
strategies.
So that was very, very beneficial, I think. Mm-hmm. Listen, guys, I loved this game. I really did. I loved it. I love the fact that there was a lot to do and there was a lot of victory point strategies, but there was resource management and I really enjoyed it. This is a really good game.
This one, even though it has nothing to do with it, it reminds me of Praga in the sense that it was an unexpected purchase. Praga I was not expecting. I got it, and because it looked complex, basically, and it had the gimmicky dial, and we played it and loved it. It was just a really
We don't get to play it enough,
game.
to be quite honest with you.
But it was very complex to learn, and we'll probably forget how to play it completely by the time we play it again.
If you brought it out today, I'd be like, I don't know how to play this game.
Yeah, and this will be just the same, I'm afraid.
Well, I refuse to let that happen. I'm going to, Randy, let's play this again. Because it was really good. I really enjoyed it. But then we said the same thing about Bonfire. Guys,
yeah,
I'm sad because we don't get to play. Like, when we did the top 10 list the other day, or top whatever, for last year, I want to play this again. I want to play this again.
Yeah.
Guys,
well, we play Dustfjord the other day. I wanted to play it again as soon as we finished. I love that game. And we haven't played it since.
So there's
that's the joys of doing reviews. You have to keep playing the same or different games every time. So
it was so funny. Part of it is one of the reasons why we started, because Brandy's like, oh, I can get you to play new games, and now it's just like, can we play?
We're all saying, can we play something we've already played before?
When Randy's saying it, it's bad. But his sad is he keeps buying games, so this is totally your fault.
Yeah, unfortunately we're out of space to store them, so I'm going to have to build a new wing onto the house.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much.
We haven't scored it.
We haven't scored it.
So
I'm gonna let you score first.
I like it. I don't like the fact that it's so hard to learn. So I'm going to count against it a little bit for that.
But you love the point salad.
I do love the point salad aspects of it. I like you've got so many things to keep track of during the game. We didn't even mention the little Kodama tracks that score points.
Basically territory control.
There's just so much to this game. Given that and how beautiful it is, I'm going to take into account to offset some of what I'll take. I'll probably go ahead and give it an 8.5. I think that's where I'm at.
I'm giving this baby a 9. It is gorgeous. I had a lot of fun. This was a good game. It's definitely up on my list. This is a fantastic game. I'm trying to figure out how we can play this sooner rather than later. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast. I got to weather the coming ice storm.
Yeah.
And go grocery shopping because they canceled my Kroger order.
Yeah, that's sad. By the time that we see this video, we'll either have frozen to death, starved, or we'll have eaten, a lot of home-cooked meals because we're going to be frozen in for a few days.
Well, that's what they'd say. So, wish us luck,
But in a week, we're going to be on the Dice Tower cruise.
Oh my gosh! Yes, and I will be very warm. And I'll be like, see y'all folks in this cold weather. I'm excited.
We will be shooting video while we're down there, so you'll be seeing some features when we get back. We probably won't post them while we're down there, but you'll see them when we get back. And, we'll share with you how the trip was and, whether it's something you might want to consider down the road. In the future.
Dice Tower Cruise. I will say, I really do want to bring Zulkin and play it next to the Mayan temples while we're there.
I want to bring Unfathomable and play it on the boat. So I'm afraid we might summon some sea creatures.
Right, so I vote no on that one. Just because I want to make it out alive.
But if we do summon a sea creature, I'm going to test my theory that everybody runs up and takes selfies with it, and just like in the game.
Oh my gosh, you guys are awful. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.